Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving deep into the really fascinating world of phenylalanine and tyrosine. These two amino acids are absolutely central to our body's chemistry, so let's get right into it. Sounds pretty wild, right? That from just one single building block you get from your food, your body can create the molecules that control your mood, your fight or flight response, and even your skin and hair color. Understanding this is absolutely key to getting how metabolism works. And, by the end of this, you'll see exactly how all those connections are made. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the basics of these two amino acids. Then we'll trace their key chemical reactions and check out the powerful products they make. We'll also explore what happens when things go wrong. And then, at the end, we'll tie it all together into the bigger metabolic picture. Okay, let's meet our two main players, phenylalanine and tyrosine. At a glance, they look super similar, but their jobs in our body's metabolism are really distinct, yet totally interconnected, which is exactly what we're about to explore. Here is the one key relationship you really need to lock down. Phenylalanine is essential, meaning we have to get it from our diet. Our bodies can't make it. Tyrosine, on the other hand, is considered non-essential, but there's a catch. It's only non-essential because our body can make it from phenylalanine. This leads to something called the sparing action of tyrosine. Basically, if your diet is rich in tyrosine, your body needs less phenylalanine. It's a really clever bit of metabolic efficiency. And now for the main event, the reaction that links these two amino acids together. See, phenylalanine's number one job, besides building proteins, is to become tyrosine. And this isn't just some small change. It's a critical, one-way, irreversible reaction that all goes down in the liver. Let's break this down. As you can see in step 1, the star of the show is an enzyme called phenylalanine hydroxylase. It's what adds that hydroxyl group to phenylalanine, but it can't do the job alone. It needs a little helper, a cofactor called tetrahydrobiopterin, or BH4 for short. Now look at step 2. The BH4 gets used up in the reaction, so it has to be recycled. That's where another enzyme, dihydropyridine reductase, comes in to regenerate it. This whole cycle is absolutely essential, and as we're about to see, if any part of it breaks, it can lead to some serious health problems. Here's a great little memory hack to remember this key relationship. pH requires BH4. Phenylalanine hydroxylase needs tetrahydroxobiopterin. Trust me, this is a super high-yield fact that's worth locking into your brain. So we've successfully made tyrosine. Awesome. What happens next? Well, tyrosine isn't just a building block for other things. It can also be used for energy. Let's take a look at how it gets broken down for fuel. And this is where tyrosine really shows off its metabolic flexibility. Its carbon skeleton has a dual fate. Part of it becomes fumarate, which can jump into the pathway for making glucose. That's what makes it glucogenic. The other part becomes acetoacetate, which is a ketone body, making it ketogenic. This dual nature is what makes tyrosine so incredibly versatile in our metabolism. Now, this breakdown is a 5-step process. It starts with transamination and hydroxylation. But I want you to pay really close attention to step 3, the oxidation step. It's catalyzed by an enzyme called homogensidate oxidase. This enzyme is so important, and we'll see exactly why in just a few minutes. The pathway then continues on until the final step, hydrolysis, where the molecule is literally split into our two end products, fumarate and acetoacetate. All right, so we've seen how tyrosine can be burned for fuel, but now let's get to the really cool stuff. Instead of being used for energy, tyrosine can be transformed into some of the most important signaling molecules in your entire body. It's just amazing how one molecule can wear so many different hats, isn't it? I mean, just look at this incredible list. Tyrosine is the starting point for thyroid hormones, which regulate our metabolism. It's the precursor for catecholamines like dopamine and adrenaline, our feel-good and fight-or-flight molecules. And it's also what makes melanin, the pigment that gives color to our skin and hair. It's just a fantastic example of how one molecule can play so many vital roles. Okay, we've seen the beautiful, elegant design of these pathways when everything is working perfectly. But what happens when a single enzyme in that chain is missing or just doesn't work right? Well, that leads us to the clinical side of our story, inborn errors of metabolism. Let's rewind back to that very first supercritical step we talked about. When that enzyme, phenylalanine hydroxylase, is deficient, it leads to a condition called phenylketonuria, or PKU. This is actually one of the most common inborn errors of amino acid metabolism, and it's precisely why newborn screening for this is so widespread and important. So what's the fallout here?
Well, when the main path is blocked, phenylalanine builds up and gets shunted into side pathways. This creates metabolites like phenylacetate, which gives the urine a very distinct musty odor. The consequences are severe. High levels of phenylalanine are toxic to the developing brain, which can lead to intellectual disability. Plus, with less tyrosine being made, melanin production takes a hit, resulting in hypopigmentation, so very fair skin and hair.
Okay, next up, a different kind of problem in the tyrosine breakdown pathway. Remember that enzyme I told you to keep an eye on, homogentisate oxidase? Well, a deficiency in this enzyme causes a condition called alkaptonuria. In alkaptonuria, the substrate, homogentisate, starts to accumulate. When it's excreted in the urine, it oxidizes and turns black when it's exposed to air. Over many years, the same pigment gets deposited in connective tissues, like cartilage, which is a condition called ochronosis. This can lead to very severe, debilitating arthritis. The mnemonic here is simple and really effective: black urine, black joints.
And for our last disorder, we're going to look at one of tyrosine's derivative pathways. If the enzyme tyrosinase is deficient, the body simply can't produce melanin. This results in albinism, which is characterized by a complete lack of pigment in the skin, hair, and eyes, and it makes individuals extremely sensitive to sunlight.
So let's put it all together for a quick recall. PKU is a failure of hydroxylation, alkaptonuria is a failure of oxidation, and albinism is a failure of pigmentation. Connecting the disease to the specific chemical reaction that's blocked is a really powerful way to organize this information for your exams. Wow, we have covered a lot of ground, from single reactions to complex diseases. So now let's zoom out and see how this one pathway fits into the grand scheme of your body's entire metabolism. The big takeaway here is that this pathway is not some isolated island. Remember the fumarate and acetoacetate we made? Fumarate plugs directly into the TCA cycle. Acetoacetate links straight to ketone body metabolism. And all those derivative pathways, they're supplying our body with essential hormones and neurotransmitters. This really makes phenylalanine and tyrosine metabolism a central hub connected to multiple major metabolic highways. All right, time for a little pop quiz. You ready? Think back to that very first crucial reaction. What was the essential helper molecule that phenylalanine hydroxylase needed to do its job? If you said tetrahydrobiopterin, or BH4, you are absolutely right. And for our second question, which enzyme deficiency is the culprit behind that classic presentation of dark urine and arthritis? That would be homogentisate oxidase. Great job if you got that one. And for our final thought, here's a challenge for you. Pause and really test yourself. Can you trace the entire path from a phenylalanine molecule in your lunch all the way to adrenaline? It's a multi-step journey that really shows how one simple building block can have such a profound impact on our physiology. Thanks so much for joining me today.